Hey, good evening. Beth, Sarah, so good to see you guys. Debbie is popping on, and Andrea hopefully will be here. And Grace had plans previously, so hoping she is enjoying her evening, and we'll all get the replay. All right, so first of all, I cannot even believe it's week 11. I can't believe it. Can you guys hear me okay? Is my volume working? Awesome. Wow. All right. 11 weeks. You guys have accomplished so much. And today I'm going to do some housekeeping and we'll get into our mini lesson and the awesome questions that you guys have asked. So first, I don't know if you got a chance to download Mike Gibson's book on cybersecurity. If you didn't, and if you had, or if you had problems, let me know. I know that he would really love a review or any notes that you might have for him. And
Oops.
I told him that I might want to wait until we're done with our 12 weeks together so I can sit down and focus and enjoy it. But definitely give his book a try. He gave us such great information. Next, today we're going to talk a little bit about relationships. And I sent out a sheet to you today about favorite things. And I would love for you to fill that out for me. And I would love to get to know you guys better. I would love to have your address as well so that I could at least send you a thank you card or something because this has been an amazing almost 12 weeks for me. I hope for you, but I've learned from you. I've grown and I really appreciate you ladies. And also, the sheet is for you to ask the people that you love to fill it out. No pressure. Nobody needs to fill out every single line, but this gives an opportunity to find out how we can surprise our loved ones, how we can give little tokens of love for what speaks to them and not necessarily what speaks to us. I do this with my family. I like to update it once a year because our tastes change and our favorite things could change. This is a great way to build relationships. And this is going to tie into our biblical mindset for this lesson. Now, I am not going to read everything, but I'm going to talk about the book of Job. And it's actually pronounced Ayob, but we say Job. We know what we're talking about. And at the beginning of the book, it says there was a man in the land of Uz whose name was Ayob. That man was perfect and straight, and one who feared Elohim and turned aside from evil. Now, if you see perfect in the Bible, it doesn't mean that this man never sinned. It usually means completion, like perfectly ripe. Um, when the fruit is perfect, you're going to pull it off the tree. When it's mature, there's a completeness there. And this man had nothing that he was in want of. He was known as the richest man in the East, and he had everything. It lists his possessions: 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen, more and more. And I mean, he had a massive business going on. He had massive servants. In today's day and age, we would think he has a strong, growing business and lots of employees. Why did he have those things? Did it have anything to do with his relationship with God. It says that everybody had a feast on their day. Now, it doesn't actually say their birthday, but on their day makes me think, people were celebrating birthdays. And his sons and daughters, they had massive feasts. He definitely celebrated his relationships with his family and his children. And something else that he did is every day he would rise early in the morning and offer ascending offerings for them. He says, hey, it might be that my sons have sinned, yet blessed Elohim in their hearts. Job always did this. And no matter how great our walk is, we do fall short. And Job knew that. And he was concerned with the relationships that he had, his relationship with God and his family, and then wealth. All right, it was always God and his family first. And this is such an important thing to remember. It goes down in chapter 1, and Satan comes to present himself before God, which is crazy. We don't even think about that. There was a requirement. Satan still has to do what God says. He could not even speak in the presence of God until he was allowed to do so. And God says, hey, Satan, where did you come from? Satan says, from diligently searching in the earth, walking up and down in it. And he said to Satan, have you considered my servant Job? There's none like him on the earth, a perfect and straight man. And we see here, God knows what Satan was thinking. And we know that there are always forces that are going to come against us. As it goes on, he asked God for permission to make Job's life uncomfortable and to take things away. And it was granted. And I'm not going to go into the whys of that, but we know in our life, we are not promised perfect peace in this lifetime. And we know every one of us will experience death, sorrow, catastrophe. It's not unusual. That is part of the fall of man. We are in earth imperfectly with things that come against us. But the thing that I get from it is God is always in control. He knew how much Job could take. He gave Job strength to go through this trial. And as we go further on, when it happened, his wife was a nag, like a dripping faucet. And he said, hey, I came into the world from my mother's womb naked. That's how I'm going out. So as I'm going through this, I want us to all remember as we are nearing the end of our 12 weeks together that we can't take it with us. Can't take it with us. That brings me a story of a very rich man who wanted to take it with him, and he told his wife, if I go before you, I want all the cash, all the money, all the gold, everything. I want everything because I'm going to take it with me. So it ended up he passed, and his wife, according to the will that was read by the attorney, she's like, well, he wants everything. She sold it all, wrote a check, and put the check in the coffin. So he got to take it with him if he can cash the check, and she still got it. But again, no matter how hard we try, we're not going to take it with us. I think the only thing that we can take or leave is our impact on those we care about. If you go through the story, Job had haters. He went through all of this, and Satan kept coming back and saying, hey, I want to do more. I want to do more. And God said, you can do it up to this point. Again, God's always in control. Yet Job did not fault God when everything he had was taken away. As he went through this trial, he had 4 friends, that they went to worship together. They came to sit with Job, and they judged him. They said, you know what? You must have done something to make God mad. You must have some sin. And Job still had the humility to stay silent for a long time. And I just think there's so much in Job. You may want to study it at some point, because we do have that against us. Even friends in our worship circle that we trust, maybe something bad happens and they want to blame us in our sin. And very well, we could have the consequences of our sin. But when things happen, it doesn't mean that we deserve it or it's a consequence of our own sin. God could be using it for his glory in ways we don't understand. I had a situation where I was studying the Bible very diligently. I wanted to understand it. Like for years, I read the Bible cover to cover. And one day I said, you know what, God, I don't really understand the book of Job. Can you help me out with that? Be careful what you pray for, because within a season, my brother died in a car accident. I lost my job. I lost my boyfriend. I lost my health. I was on disability. I could not even walk to the bathroom. I was crawling on the floor. I was on disability for a year. And I'm not going to say what I had was as bad as Job, but I lost everything that I had. And those 4 people from my church came and told me those things. And as I was reading through Job, I was like, oh my gosh, that's what happened to Job. And I understood Job at a deeper level than I had before. Fortunately, I did have that one friend who came and sat beside me, just like in Job, and said, I don't have anything to say. I don't know what I can do, but I'm just going to sit here and love you. And sometimes when we see others going through a hard time, sometimes it's all we can do is just sit and love them. So that's a little bit about my story. I did understand Job more than I had before, but I went through a lot and it was painful. I literally thought that I was going to die because I cried so much my heart hurt with everything that had gone on. But I got some gifts out of it. I did get more compassion. I did get more grace for others. So, and God gave me back far more than I lost. And even if he didn't, he is still God. So there is so much in that book of Job, and I want to encourage you all to take care of those relationships. Take care of your relationship with God and your family. And remember, even though we are working hard and diligently on the finance side, just want all of us to remember in the category of things where it really falls. and who wealth really comes from. So that is that is my taking a look at my notes. Yeah, and you know what? He lived to be over 140 years old, and at that time, God had said, "Hey, man's age is going to be 120." He got an extra 20 years. Like it's really amazing what can happen. So there we go. I hope this was encouraging in some way. Grace and Andrea, I hope this inspires you as well when you listen to the replay. And let's move on and learn some more about the money skills. Now that we put God first, our relationships, now let's learn more about the money skills. And unless there's any questions about that portion at all or any thoughts.
I guess just to remember it all comes from him. He gives it and he takes it away, and we just need to be content in what we have.
Nice. Thank you. That's a perfect summary. Content in all things.
Mm-hmm.
And that mindset is going to help you as you trade. Because if you're caught up, like, oh my gosh, and the stress, and I can't make a mistake, it's going to be harder to have the results you want. But if you're content and you're at peace and your mind is clear, you will make better decisions as we go about. Now, I know, Beth, you had some specific questions that I am scrolling. One was about Bitcoin and the other was about
just knowing when to get rid of stocks, because I tend to be one of those people that just hang on and hang on and hang on. It's going to work out. Let's make it work out. I'm going to force it to work out. And I don't think this game works that way. And so I just have that yellow dog personality where I stick with it until the bitter end, good or bad. So I need to figure out a strategy of seeing when it's time to get out.
I have a question because it's been one of
that is a
mine
great question. And I
that
wanted
I've
to
been
read your
struggling with
question. In the
too.
meantime, I think my trackpad just died on me, so I might need to get a cord. So if you guys hold on a sec.
What'd you say, Debbie?
I said that's a great question because it's been something that I've been contemplating because I have a couple stocks that
All right.
I've been
I'm back.
questioning
My
whether I should let it go
trackpad
or not.
just died. I had to put a cord
Yeah.
on it. Okay, so now I can find your question. Yeah, can we go over when to hold them, when to fold them? I'm confused as to when you know that you should dump a stock. How do I know a low is just a low and not a bust, or a high is at its full potential?
Perfect question.
Okay, and then there's a quote. As an entrepreneur, business owner, or income owner, you learned to tough it out, get knocked down, and get back up and persist until you win. As an investor, that will get you killed. You have to know when to cut your losers quickly. It's patience. You can't force a market to do what you want. So I'm going to go backwards on this. You cannot force a market to do what you want. That is true. Totally true. You cannot force it. It has a mind of its own and it's not always logical. The market runs on emotion. It's patience. All right. Yes, we need to be patient investors and have a long-term plan. Now, persist until you win. I will say yes to that. You will make mistakes. We all do continually. We make mistakes and we learn from them. And I think that is very important to not be too afraid to make mistakes. When you make the mistakes, you definitely want to make them with, let's say, $100 and not $100,000, right? So as we're learning, we are starting small and growing big. Now, when it comes to cutting your losers quickly, that is very subjective. We need to define our terms. What is a loser for one person might not be a loser for another, depending on the strategy. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. How do I know a low is just a low and not a bust, or a high isn't at its full potential? Okay, I'll continue to work backwards. A high, for the most part, if you look at the charts that we've looked over, whether it's the S&P 500 or Bitcoin, it keeps going higher. So it seems to me that for over 100 years, it's still continued to go higher. And why does it go higher? Part of it has to do with the government running on debt and the government printing money. Everything will continue to go higher. And is a low just a low? I will tell you what happened with one of my lows when I was a little bit early to investing. The whole pandemic hit at one point, and I had never been in a market that dropped so dramatically. And I panicked because it had never happened to me. And I sold because I had something called a stop loss, which meant, hey, if something dropped 25% or 30%, I was going to get out and sell it. Now, that strategy in hindsight is really good if you're doing day trading or swing trading and you're getting in and out, or you're buying something that might not necessarily pay a dividend, but you're hoping it will go up and you want to sell it when it goes up. In that strategy, you're going to want to make specific rules for yourself and say, hey, I'm buying this stock because I want it to go up. When it goes up to a certain point, I am going to sell it and take the win. If it drops by, 25% or 35 or whatever you decide, then I will sell it because I want to protect my capital. So that particular strategy of cutting losses actually works with that particular way of investing. Now, hindsight, if I would have just kept the things, I bought high and I sold low. That's not really what I wanted to do. If I would have kept it, the market would have recovered, just like it's done for the past 150 years. There are crashes, and yet it always recovers. And the particular stocks I had were the ones that paid a dividend. And if I would have just let it go, they would have still paid dividends and I would have been getting the stock at rock bottom prices. So when it comes to trying to figure out when to sell it or keep it, it really depends on why you're holding it. You really need to know your why and your strategy. Does that help? Okay. Now let's go on to continue when a stock is low because the market is low, that's one thing. But if you see a stock going really lower and the market is going higher, you might want to keep your eyes posted on what's going on in the news. What's going on with that company? Is that company having trouble? So there's a lot of components to watch. And this is why when you're starting out, maybe you don't want more than 10 stocks because that's a lot to keep an eye on. It's like having 10 children. You know, do you want to keep an eye on 5 or 7 children, or do you want to keep an eye on 35 children? Um, so does that help? Do you want clarification on anything specific regarding that?
I guess I just don't have a good enough strategy. I guess that's what I need to work on is my why. Because right now I'm just picking out a stock off the sheet that gives it dividends, and that's why I'm buying them, so to produce dividends and put it on drip. So that's my only strategy. So I guess I need to think about that more.
Okay. And
And I,
that's a great beginning strategy because I think all of us are there. We don't know what we're doing, but we see something, we buy it, and then we observe it. And now we're holding on to it and we're watching the ups and downs and gaining a lot of information. I think
and
somebody else wanted to chime in.
yeah,
Debbie?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, I know, like, since I've been in for, gosh, I think it's a year now. Two of my stocks, OXLC and PSEC, have had some issues. Okay. Um, and I know right now PSAC they dropped their price, but they kind of since, for a few months now, they've been maintaining. So they're doing okay. But OXLC, I'm still kind of nervous about because they're going to start doing that 5-1 split. And I get that. I understand how all that works and stuff, that it's really not going to make a difference. The only difference going to make a difference in is the payout's going to drop from 9 to 8 cents, which for OXLC is really not that big of a deal. But my concern is why. And I haven't been able to really figure out the why behind it. Is there trouble going on in the company, and being able to research that part of it? Because I love OXLC. I love, but I'm nervous with it right now. But I know it's one of Hans's babies.
I know that this is a great one to talk about.
Yeah, I thought it would be to kind of help them out too.
Yeah, so the it is they're doing a 5-to-1 reverse split. Not uncommon. There are several strategic ways why a company might want to do that. And one might be if their stock price gets so low, they might not be able to trade on the they might not be able to trade anymore unless it's an OTC, over the counter. So in order, OTC stands for over the counter. There are certain stocks that are not actively tradable unless you do something called over the counter penny stocks. If you've watched any of the movies, like Wolf of Wall Street or whatever, the penny stocks were like churn and burn. You know, maybe you'll put in a penny and you'll get like $10,000 from it. They're not stocks that are qualified to trade on the NASDAQ or S&P 500 or in your investment account unless you ask for a specific, unless you buy it OTC. There's commission fees involved. But who wants to buy something that? Do we want to buy our stocks and our ticker symbols from companies that are publicly traded above the counter, which is what we're doing. And if OXLC's stock price got too low, they would not be tradable that way. They could be booted off. So if their stock price is too low, it's like, well, let's do a reverse split and pull some of those stocks together. The stock price will be higher and they'll be able to keep their status quo. That's one reason why a reverse split could happen. They want to make sure that they're still able to be traded in our regular investment accounts. They can't let their stock price get too low. Oh, you're on mute.
I thought I clicked it on, sorry. And I get all of that. But what causes the stock price to go down? What's going on in the company that would cause it to go down? That's what makes me, are they stable, unstable? How do you
Okay.
find out what exactly is going on?
That is a great question on many levels. Now, first of all, you all are capable of using Google or AI. You can research the companies. You can research the pros and cons. There are people that are fine with OXLC, and then there are people that are like, I'm getting out of it. You know, you'll hear both opinions. So again, you need to make your own choices, but you can research these things. Now, one of the reason a stock price could go low, sometimes they call it NAV decay, which happens more often with stocks that pay a really high dividend. The stock price will go lower over time. Because if you've noticed, and maybe you haven't, I did not notice this for quite a while, for those stocks that pay a really high dividend, after the dividend is paid out, if they pay out $1 per share, and then you look at the price of that stock, it'll go down $1 per share because they just paid you $1 for a dividend, so the stock price went down. And for those very high dividend paying stocks, you will notice the price go down over time. If you compare that to a dividend achiever, dividend king, dividend champion like Exxon or 3M or Verizon or even Metropolitan Life, you will notice over time the price of their stocks keep going up even after they pay dividends. But they're not paying 15, 18, 20% dividends. They're paying like 3, 5, 7. So their stock price goes up over time. Does that kind of answer that question? And if you're looking at that particular stock of OXLC, if it's still paying a dividend that you like, you know, hold on to it. If you're not sure, maybe you want to sell half of it and roll into something else. You know, you don't have to get rid of it all, and you don't have to keep it all if you're uncomfortable.
It's more of not being educated enough to know, like what you just explained, what's going on behind the scenes. That is this something really I need to worry about, or it's low in price? Should I buy more? Should I buy more because it's it's on sale? It's
Right.
at a good price, and it's still paying a good high yield dividend. So, but I just want to make sure that behind the closed doors, the company's not going under.
I
You know,
understand that, yes. And sometimes there's no way to know, and you will find people that will tell you, Debbie, I don't like what's going on. I think you should get out of OXLC. And then you will find somebody with an equally valid argument that's like, I don't see any reason to get rid of it. Just hold on to it. So again, there's not a super amount of clarity. You are smart. You've got to make your own decisions and you've got to figure that out. Read both sides of the argument, why people want to hold it and why people want to get rid of it.
Okay.
And with probably every single stock out there, you will find people that don't like it, don't think you should buy, and people that love it and think you should buy. So
Who do you believe? You don't know.
you don't know. And I think that is another reason for diversification. Maybe you
Yeah.
want to see
And
how
how much risk, your
right.
risk tolerance.
Yeah. I mean, do you have 30% of your portfolio in OXLC or, right? I mean, if you did, it might be like, oh,
No,
let me bring
yeah,
that
no.
down. But if you have like 2% of your portfolio in that stock, you might say, I only have 2%. It's a good price. I can bring that up a little. So you got to figure all those factors in.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
you're awesome. Great questions.
That was a good question.
Yeah,
Thanks. I'm
really.
glad Beth thought of it.
These are the questions and the thoughts that I think we all are going to have all the time. Unless we're just buying T2, set it and forget it, buy it, put it on drip. Maybe I'll look at my account once a month. That's a strategy, and that's a valid strategy. But if you're somebody that really wants to learn and you're like, I really want to understand this, I really want to eke out every penny I can, then you're going to have to wrestle with some of these things. And don't be afraid to ask AI or go through Google or go through Reddit and see what people are talking about.
What's Reddit?
Okay. Reddit is
Look at these
a,
girls laughing at me.
I'm glad you asked it because not everybody knows. Reddit is basically a forum where people ask questions. There's no graphics. Uh, it's kind of like a Facebook group, but with no graphics. People ask questions on all sorts of topics. So you can put a
Like a chat
question,
room.
kind of like a chat room. It's
Okay.
structured so that you can see all of the answers and people can give it a thumbs up to bring it higher to view or thumbs down. If you ask a question on your search engine, you can just add Reddit to the end and you can see some conversations that people are having.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, another. Okay. All right. So Sarah, how are you doing there? Are these questions helpful for you?
Yeah, yeah, it's really good for me to like, even though I don't have anything to like say about it, or maybe I wouldn't have thought of it. Um, it's really good information for me to be hearing and listening in on. And yeah, and then I was kind of, the wheels in my brain were kind of turning. You kind of did say it after, because then I was like, oh, well, what a good strategy to like know when to sell is if maybe if you see something that you think might look better and you want to try that. And so you sell some of what you have. It just kind of got me thinking about like ideas and um, a little bit that I wouldn't have probably been thinking about. At least I'm not anywhere close to thinking of those things yet on my own. So it's kind of like getting me a little ahead in my own thinking.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so I just want to make sure, that you're tracking and that you don't have any other questions. there is a lot of flexibility in investing. There's so much flexibility. As I said, you could just have some stocks that pay a dividend, set it up, and you never even have to worry about this stuff because you've picked the dividend kings and the dividend achievers. And you could do that. There might be a period in your life where you're like, I don't want to deal with a whole bunch of this, but I at least want to be investing. That's a very hands-off way. And the other strategies we talked about, you could buy a stock, hope it goes up, sell it when it goes up, pocket the difference. You could do some speculations. There's all sorts of opportunities and flexibility. And you guys are doing great. You've already bought something. You're there, you're in the market. You're going to see what you're comfortable with and what you like. I know for me, I really loved day trading. And I'm not going to tell anybody to do that. And I only traded with like 5 to 10% of my portfolio because if I did something stupid and lost it all, we'd still be able to pay our bills and eat. You know what I mean? So I enjoyed that. And I tried the same sort of thing with Bitcoin because there are people that do day trading or scalping with Bitcoin because it's so volatile. It goes so fast. And I know some people that have made a good amount of money doing that. Not me. I'm like, that's too fast. That wasn't working for me. It worked for them. So you can try different things. And right now I am just really liking the ease of collecting some dividends. And, just to reiterate, I don't know about Grace and Andrea, but I know Debbie and Beth, you are in the pro group, and I don't know if you've set up everything to get the alerts, the VIX alerts, the volatility alerts. Okay. So what they're doing is when there's a drop in the market, when there's high volatility, when there's a drop in the market, when things are on sale, there are alerts that go off in the pro group like, hey, stuff's on sale, go take a look. So that would be a question to probably ask Karen to make sure that you're
I
set up for those.
I am getting the VIX alerts to my email, but I haven't figured out how to get the email to alert me that I'm getting that email. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Karen can show you how to get
She can?
notifications on your phone, and it bypasses the email if you want it, and will just go
Oh,
right to your phone.
I will have to remember that because I'm meeting with Karen next week.
Okay.
Where's my
Yeah,
pen? Awesome. Thank you for that.
ask her about that, and just an encouragement for Grace and Andrea and Sarah at some point. The strategies that they offer in pro, I really encourage you guys to at least try it out for a month. And even though some people say, Hans is like talking over my head, you just need one strategy. You just need one. You don't need all of them. It's like a buffet. And it helped replace my husband's income entirely, which blows my mind that he's got a strategy to replace your entire income replacement strategy. Crazy. So there's that with the pro feature. Now, Bitcoin, we had a question about Bitcoin. I sent out a PDF on some things that I was personally thinking about. And this is just me. I was just thinking about this and considering where I want some of my money to go. And For the retired people or soon to be retired, we had money in a regular IRA and we rolled a significant portion over into a Roth IRA. Okay, that's a Roth conversion. You guys have heard of that strategy. We rolled over enough that it did bump us up to the highest tax bracket because I just wanted to just rip the Band-Aid off and just put the money in there because I know with the strategies that Hans is teaching that I'm going to make up that tax bill in a year. Like with everything that he taught us, I'm like, so I just have 1 year of staying stable and then it's all tax free. So we did that. And I realized that in my regular investment account, the money that I've saved over 5 years, it's being taxed at the highest tax bracket because of the rollover. And I'm like, dang, I know we're getting some money, but I don't want to give the government that much money. So what I had contemplated, and again, I'm not telling anybody to do what I'm doing. As I said in the beginning, I'm not a CPA, I'm not a financial advisor, I'm not licensed to tell you what to do. I'm just sharing my thoughts and what I'm trying to do. And I thought, why am I giving the government a free ride and having my dividends in the regular account, not the IRA? Like they're taking 35% every month at least. So I thought, what about Bitcoin? When we did our lessons together and we compared the fiat currency and how it's being devalued and can buy less and less, but Bitcoin is being valued at more, I thought, why don't I just liquidate that account and put it all into Bitcoin? I don't need that money right now, but if what I see happening and what you guys see happening with your dollar, with the purchasing power, and we see what's happening with Bitcoin, where do I want my money to go? Do I want it under the mattress? Like where would I want the money to go that I want maybe to pass on to my heirs or that I want to not disappear in front of my very hands? You know what I'm saying? So if I put that into Bitcoin, let's say I'm able to buy a whole Bitcoin. It's 120,000 now. Last July it was 65. If you watch that cute little video with that skit, it was 17,000. So if I put all of it, if I can buy 1 Bitcoin, and then next year if it doubles, if I put $120,000 in now, and then next year it's 250, like it seems like it's doing all throughout history, I could borrow 120,000 back. Like if it doubles, I would still have access to the money if I needed to, for a down payment on a house or for another investment or for a rental property. I could just borrow it without closing costs, without looking at a home equity line of credit. And if you borrow money, you're not taxed on money that you borrow because it's not income. So that was my idea, using some of the dividends to maybe continue to purchase more. But, Yeah, that's what I did. It's a bold move. Again, I am not recommending that you do this because I know that Bitcoin is highly volatile. And if I got one, if I was able to, let's say this month, get the cash together, buy it within this next month or this year, if I got into it for $120,000, it is likely that it will correct and go down to 80,000 maybe. So I have to be prepared if I'm doing this strategy. If I bought at the top, and you remember we had that whole Bitcoin lesson, if you bought at the top every single time, where would you be today? You'd still be pretty good. So if I bought at the top, I have to be prepared that, it could crash down to 70 or 80. And I could wake up one morning and say, honey, we had a whole Bitcoin that was worth 120, now it's worth 70,000. How would you feel if that happened to you? If you are like, I can't stomach that, then you probably don't want to do what I'm doing. But if you can stomach that, and if you have the long-term strategy, like I don't care if it drops that much, if I'm planning on holding it for 5 years or 10 years, and maybe passing that down to my heirs, it doesn't matter because I don't need that to live. That's my investment. That's a strategy. I don't need that to live because I have my solid cash flow dividend paying stocks. So, thoughts, questions? You can call me crazy. You're not going to hurt my feelings.
Had the little bit of extra money to play with. I like that idea. But what's in my traditional IRA right now is my T2s. And I want to kind of slowly convert that over because I don't have the money to pay that tax ramification if I did it all at once. So, but if I had that extra money, I'm still in the process of trying to build my T2s up to my freedom number.
Right.
So until I'm there, but boy, I know Bitcoin could be I know.
All right. So what you're
I could put
talking
a
about,
little, I could put a little.
why not? Why 4 years ago, I put a couple $100s in and I forgot about it until recently. Like, finding an extra 20 bucks in a coat pocket. But that
Mhm.
20 bucks in the coat pocket doesn't buy as much as it did when you put it in the coat pocket. But the stuff I put in Bitcoin quadrupled. So
So you're at
again,
800?
I don't know, I put 100, I think I put 100. I had a couple different accounts, but I put 100 in and then I saw that I had 400. And I was like, why did I only put 100 in? But again, when I'm doing this, I want to make it clear the Roth account and the IRAs are completely separate. I'm not touching those. I'm keeping those protected. This, what I'm doing with Bitcoin, was money that was not in any retirement accounts.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah,
Okay.
definitely want to make that clear.
Okay.
Retirement accounts off to one side. We moved some money from the traditional retirement account into the Roth. So I know I'm going to have a tax bill. That's a whole separate category.
Oh,
And
okay.
because I did that, you have to pay taxes, bumped up the tax bracket. But the investment account that I've had for 5 or 6 years now was growing. And this is something to be prepared for. You will pay taxes on your gains and on your dividends, unless they're in a retirement account. You're going to pay taxes. unless they're in that tax deferred retirement account, or if they're in Bitcoin. You don't pay taxes on Bitcoin unless you sell it for a gain.
Really? That's interesting tidbit of information.
Yeah, that's why I
Is
said
that any crypto, not just Bitcoin?
I would think so. I'm focused
Okay.
on Bitcoin myself, but it
Yeah.
seems to be, do your own research. It seems to
Yeah.
be that it's like a stock. Pretend you have a stock that doesn't pay dividends. If it goes up, it's an unrealized gain. It's
Okay.
unrealized. You don't pay taxes on it until it's a realized gain, until you sell it.
Take it. Okay.
Right. And I believe that all of the cryptocurrencies are treated the same way. You don't get a tax until you have a realized gain.
Interesting.
Interesting. So mull that around. And that's why I thought, hey, if it's in there, if I need to borrow money, if I don't have a home equity line of credit, if I need a new roof, I can borrow against my Bitcoin, get the roof, pay it back without going to the bank. Now I'm my own bank. And I don't have to sell it, because if I sell it, I could owe taxes on it. So I'll just borrow against it.
I just caught that. You can borrow against your Bitcoin? That's what Hans was talking about then on his flywheel thing? I haven't finished that video yet. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Strategy. Yeah, lights are going off.
So there's lots of things on the internet where people are suggesting that you can borrow against it forever. There are people that are thinking it's going to go up to 13 million. I don't know how long that's going to take, but how long did it take to go from 17,000 to 65,000 to 120,000? How long did that take?
10
So,
years.
so there
Was
are
it 10
people,
years?
yeah, I mean, and if it's growing exponentially. So there are people that are suggesting you could, if you invest early, that at some point, 10 years down the road, it could fund your retirement and you could keep borrowing against it if it's going up and living off it for the rest of your life without ever paying a tax, because you're not selling it, you're just borrowing from it. Like, I don't understand all that. I'm just saying there is stuff out there that you can research. There's YouTube videos, and you can mull that over and maybe develop your own strategy. But I will say, if you haven't opened a Coinbase account, it's not going to hurt to put 10 bucks in. Don't go to Starbucks today. Don't get that extra iced frothy latte, vanilla, blah, 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 and the croissant. Skip that, put it in Bitcoin, and watch it go up and down. And get familiar with it. And you might say, maybe I want to do something with it. And you might say, I hate this. It's stupid. It's ridiculous. I don't know what Larissa was talking about. But it doesn't hurt to give it a try. And put money in that you're not afraid of it going to zero. That's how I overcome the fear. I put a certain amount in that I say, if it goes to zero, I'm not going to lose sleep. Get my feet wet. So, what are you thinking? More questions on that? Do you want to talk a little bit more about the concept of Bitcoin and what's happening in our world today? Or do you have a different question? I'm here for you guys.
Hans keeps bringing up this concept of AI. And I don't know if this is like way off on a different subject, but he's constantly saying that we need to learn more about AI or we're end up, I'm not really sure what he's talking about as far as what is he wanting us to learn about it other than, I mean, ChatGPT and Grok and
Okay, that's a great question, and I'm not going to say I don't, you know, I don't know his mind. I don't know what he wants us to learn about it, but let's talk about, let's
okay,
talk
good.
about AI. And before I step into that, I just want to remind you guys that last week I did send out a PDF called Buy One Bitcoin. And I sent that out last week. It's 11 pages. And at the
Oh,
very bottom of it, there's a little tax snapshot that talks about when things are taxable. So there's that. That was sent out to the entire group
to our
last week
email?
through email.
Okay.
And today I sent out um, the thing about relationships. So that was sent out today about relationships in the email. Same place there's lots of emails from me. Have you gotten any of them, Deb?
I'm trying to look now to see if I can find it. I'm looking on my phone too, which I'd rather look on the computer, but
Yeah. All right.
oh, there it is. I didn't even, okay. Why did I not even look at that? I put it in my saved Larissa file.
Save me. All right. So you got it. Another thing that I
Oh,
want to point out about entry and exit points and Bitcoin. I know there's a lot of strategies out there. I just want to I just want to have one as a legacy, but I don't think it's going to hurt anybody to have a little bit in Bitcoin specifically. Now, it's interesting, as soon as Bitcoin was trading around 116,000 when I said, let me liquidate my account so I can stop paying the IRS taxes on those dividends because they were not in the investment account. And as soon as I did that, I sold things off, and then I had to wait for the money to clear 24 hours. Then I had to transfer it to my bank account, and that takes a day at least. And then I could transfer it over to Bitcoin. So there's all these steps. And as I was going through all this, Bitcoin went from 115, 116 to $124,000 yesterday.
wow.
And then back down to 118 today. So I'm so glad I didn't have all the money because I was like, I just want it, but I want to be strategic about it. And when it happens, when those things are grinding higher, I'm like, oh my gosh, what if it never comes down? Then I'm going to miss out. And then I'm going to pay even higher prices. And then, but in my head, I know it's going to come down, but when is it going to come down? So there's emotions, and it's not good to have emotions in trading. So what I contemplated doing was putting maybe half, maybe a third of my goal immediately. And then dollar cost averaging, maybe for the next 4 or 5 months, just putting maybe $100 in a day, but holding a little bit back for when there's a drop to scoop it up. And what I really like to do, if you're going to be serious about Bitcoin, you can do this in your stock market account as well. But definitely, if you're serious about Bitcoin, learn to put those GTC limit orders in. Good till canceled. GTC, good till canceled. And that
You can do
way,
that with Bitcoin?
totally.
You can do that as well with Bitcoin?
I have it laddered. I had it when I saw it went up to 124. I had limit orders in for 15,000, 16,000, 17,000, 18,000.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And yeah, so I had it all laddered and didn't hit the 15, but maybe it will in 3 months. So I definitely, it's automated. Bitcoin could bounce up or down at 3 a.m. and then go back to normal, and you've slept through it all. So using those orders are something I do all the time. You can do it with Bitcoin, you can do it with stocks. And I've had orders filled, but you have to have patience. Sometimes if I want it now, and I don't want to wait, and I want to see when it happens. But patience is really going to help you.
Good info.
Beth, did you have a question?
No, I just had a pain. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was like, oh, I
Yeah.
thought you had a thought. I'm sorry. you
Yeah,
had a pain.
no, I'm recovering from foot surgery, and so sometimes it just sends electrical shocks, and I bumped it. So yeah, sorry about that.
I felt that. Oh my gosh. Well, so yeah, there we are. There we are. If
A
you
lot
know,
of good info.
yeah, do those GTC orders, look at the Bitcoin sheet that I gave you. AI, that was it. All right, so we'll close out with AI. And sure, you can start with I personally don't like Grok as much because I feel like I have to argue with it and find all its mistakes. So understand it for what it is. Chat GPT, it's a lot friendlier. Like it's crazy how different they are. And sometimes I will ask the same question of both of them to see what answer they come up with. And I'm going to take a look. So as you go through AI, obviously that is the easiest place to start, but a lot of people use Grok or Chat GPT like a Google search, and it's really a lot more than that. Just start there, and you can ask AI, how can I learn to use AI in my life? How can I learn to use it better? If you were a technology, and you got to learn about the prompts. The more specific you can be, you could say things like, if you were a technology teacher and wanted to help a beginning student get up to speed on the latest technologies, where would you tell them to start? Or create a 3-month plan for me to become well versed in AI technology. Or I'm a business owner. How can I use AI technology to save money for my business and effectively schedule employees? I mean, there's so much you can do and have conversations on that. And if you are not a business owner, maybe your applications are not going to be as extensive. There's AI that can edit videos, that can create posters for you, that can actually create videos with no actors. It's really pretty dynamic what can be done. I'll give you some examples. I copied and pasted all of my blood test results into AI so that I could ask questions about it and get questions to bring up to my doctor. I got radiology reports that I uploaded to help create a health plan and again bring up questions to ask my physical therapist about. Like, you can give it copious amounts of information and have it sift through it for whatever your personal desires are or whatever questions you want answered.
That's an awesome way to use it, because it just searches all that information and just tailors it to what you need. Did you find out anything on your health with your blood tests?
Oh, yeah, I'm in menopause and so I've been just researching uh, how to manage this portion of my life. And it will give you the mainstream answers. And then I follow up with, because I don't want the mainstream answers. I don't want the pharmaceutical answers. I want something deeper. So I said, all right, pretend you're an expert in traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine and natural healing and integrative medicine, and that you have PhDs in all of these formats. Now, what would you tell me?
Right.
Right. A lot of times I will get an answer that I don't like, and I will say, stop checking people's random posts. I want answers from experts. I want peer-reviewed studies, things like that. So you can once you get an answer, you can narrow it down and say that's a great start, but I don't want it will search posts, it will search Reddit. And sometimes I don't want answers from Reddit or people's posts. Like, I don't know why these people have their opinions. And I will narrow down the search to be more pointed to get to the target I want.
So be very specific.
The better, they call them prompts. The better you can type in your prompt, the more specific you can type in your prompt, the better. And you can do follow-ups as well.
Hey, Debbie, there's a cursive AI mastery that keeps coming up on my feed, and can you see that? It goes through all the AIs, and it's like a 28-day program that might be something that would help you master AI.
Is that an app?
Yes, it is. They call it AI Mastery Plan, 28-day challenge for 40 plus people. And yeah, it has different types of AI on there. And it's spelled Coursiv.
Oh, hold on.
You know, while we're talking about this, I think that Mike Gibson might be a good person to ask about that as well. And even with his book, maybe he would have a supplement or something like AI for beginners. Because I think understanding AI would show that if you understand AI, you know you need security because hackers are using AI.
Yes.
Any, is that helpful, Debbie? Is that starting to get you on the
Well,
on the right?
I'm trying to find it. Let's see, where's my, is that the app?
Scoot it over a little. That looks like it. Yeah.
Little, okay. Okay, well, Cursive AI Tools Mastery. Okay. Downloading. Downloading.
All right, so we're right about at our time, and I know our last class is next week, so you guys are going to graduate. And
Are we gonna get a
please,
diploma?
if you want a
Right.
diploma, you get a diploma. You deserve it. You deserve it. If you send back that sheet of paper to me, even if you take a snapshot and send it to me through Facebook, I would love to know some of your favorites. I would love to have your address to keep in touch and send
You
you a
should do the same
diploma.
for us.
I will. I will.
Okay.
And even though next week is our last class, don't be afraid to ask AI some of the questions that you might have asked me. I mean, we'll still be around. I'll still be around. I'll still be in, the Faith Finance Freedom Group. Maybe I can still, every once in a while, I used to have open classes, just generic classes where anybody could pop in. So maybe I'll do some of those because I know we have one more class. Like I missed you already, but we still have one more class. So I'll be keeping tabs on you guys.
Withdrawals.
I hope so.
And yeah, anything else before we close off?
Mhm.
I'm trying to stretch it out. I love seeing your beautiful faces. I'm so encouraged and proud of you, how you've grown. And yeah, so homework, fill out that sheet and come up with any other questions that you might want answered for our final class. Bring some champagne or something to celebrate if you like, and we'll have a toast on our final class. And again, thank you, ladies, for your diligence and really showing up and just doing it. You're
Well, thank
awesome.
you.
You're welcome. All right. Good
Bye.
night. Good night, Debbie. Good night, Sarah. Good
Good
night,
night.
Beth.